So hello everybody, welcome to a new video, welcome to the project. For the people who are watching this for the first time, this is my 190 V12. I don't think this is more speaking for itself, I think. So 6 liter V12. So it's on its wheels. I got most of the things mounted now. So the only thing I'm going to change in the suspension is now the front springs. They're too hard. It's 14 kilo springs. So there's no, it's just too hard. Maybe on a track it's maybe perfect, but for the street it's just not good. So in the back I got 10 kilo springs. It's about, I thought it was 50 millimeters, 10 kilo springs. So in the front is 62 millimeters. I'm also going to 10 kilo springs. So I ordered those, so they will come in next few days, I think. So then also what I did is I mounted the front bumper and the front wheel arch. I rolled it a little bit on the inside, a little bit wider, because otherwise when I turn the wheel, it will, there's almost no room. And now there's more room also on the other side, so it's now pretty perfect. The only thing when I mount the side pieces on it, I need to make the inner side is now straight. It's 90 degrees. I may have to make a smaller angle so it will fit better. So I made a list for the last things I need to do before I get the engine and transmission out for the last time. So it's in Dutch, so I will explain what it is. So I have the rear side of the exhaust. So people who have seen the exhaust video know that the exhaust in the back and the left side is touching the chassis. So I have to create a little bit more room in there. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm also going to make the end pieces of the exhaust and mount the rear bumper, so it all looks nice and tidy. Headlights needs to be fitted in the front, and I got also those air inlets in my headlamps that I need to make nice and tidy. This piece is the piece that is behind the engine. So it's in here. So I want to mount it and install all the cooling pipes. That's also a thing what I need to do and make sure that everything is okay. Normally, what is the biggest difference with a normal 190 is that you can remove the engine without removing the plate. And because this is pretty tight, I can only install the engine when the plate is out. So otherwise I cannot get the engine in. So that's, it's a little bit struggling to get a plate in, but there's no much more room. So steering pump hoses and oil cooler and transmission cooling hoses I'm going to install again, because now the exhaust is also in. Then I can have a look if I need some fire jacket hoses. So that's fire resistant hose protection that you can slide over a hose, because the steering pump is also near the exhaust. So, and the hoses, I want to protect them. So I will have a look how much I need and if I need it. So I'm going to install that, and then everything is then in there and neat, so I can have a look if everything is okay. So this is the 10 kilo springs I talked about for the front suspension. The front grille and the hood connections. So I have to mount the grille and the latch and everything. The other piece that's in here, I painted it, it's in the back, in the trunk. And there's also not a problem because the radiator is a lot more to the front than in like a 2.6, that's the radiator is also underneath here, but it's more to the back. But I don't have enough room to get the, normally when you pop the hood, the little latch is coming forward. I don't have room for that. So it's always sticking out of the grill. So I think I will just remove it and make a tool that I can just hook in and open the hood. So it's a little bit, there's just no room. So I have to figure out something else. So then when I'll pop the hood, it comes up just a few, centimeter or two. And then I have to get a latch to pick it out of the, that securing position. So I cannot do it in anything else because there's no room to get the latch fully in when the hood is closed, because then my radiator is in there. So, and also the front fence will be there, so there's just no room. So throttle pedal needs to be mounted back, and also connected, and then everything in the engine bay will be in. So the wiring, that sort of stuff, will fit without the engine also, because it's all around the engine. So the wiring loom is going to the back here, and is going just around. So there's no need to put the wiring loom in there for now, because it makes no difference for the engine. So because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two different looms. So the loom that's now original, also with the sensors of the engine. There are not a lot of sensors, mostly is cooling sensors and some protection sensors for the engine. That will be taken out of the loom, and then I've just built a new loom for the engine. And that will be, the fuses will be used from the original box if I got enough space there, or I make a little box for separate fuses for the engine control. So it's easier to see where everything goes. So because also in this engine bay I don't have fuel pump relays and that sort of stuff, so that will be all installed. And I think the best way is to keep it separate, because the original loom is just for all the lights and that sort of stuff, and then I got a separate loom for the engine. So if something happens in the future, it's easier to search in between those two looms, I think. So that's the plan. So I'm going to start with the exhaust then. So let's have a look. So here I got the exhaust underneath the car. If you can see here, touching the chassis. But also the muffler is not completely in the middle. You can see it's a little bit to the left. So that's because of welding, or just not positioned pretty good. So what I'm going to do is also, I think this space is not too bad in here, and it's not too low to the ground. I think that's pretty good, but you can see it's the angle is a little bit going downwards, so it's here a little bit higher than here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it here, and then I can straighten the pipe, so I got a little bit more space. And I think I'm going to cut it here, and make sure this muffler is in the middle of the space that's here. So I got the same space here than I got here. So after that I'm going to place the bumper, and going to have a look how I'm going to make the tips. In the back I think I'm just going for straight tips, nothing special, just straighten them out, and then from stainless, the same as the exhaust, and then I can polish them later up, just make it nice and shiny. So let's start. At this point I got the center piece of this exhaust is now a little bit up. I don't know if you can see it, but the space in here is now 10 centimeters smaller, and the pipe is more straight. So the only thing what I did is cut it here, and just the size of the cut I welded close again. So the top side I closed it, and the rest I welded shut. So now you can see that the center pipe, normally the center pipe was like this. So it's too much to one side, but there is already space because I cut it also here. So to get it fully centered, I should get the pipe like this, or like this. That's the most perfect position. So you can see there's a big gap here. So, and the muffler is now also pretty straight, and I got even clearance on both sides, so that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do now, this is also not the best thing, then it's going to be touching on the top. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut it here, so I can move the angle of the pipe, and that's just long enough so I can put it in the right position. So it has to be, I think, 10 degrees. This pipe has to be 10 degrees to this side, I think. So let's have a look. So exhaust is perfect for me now. So I got the connections all welded up. This connection is also welded now. Also in here, this one is welded again. So now it is nice and enough space everywhere. It's here. This is the most tightest space in here. I will wrap it here, and there's no way this exhaust will ever hit that position. So in here I also got the space what I wanted, so that's all good. The space is more even on both sides, so it's completely good. It's nice and flat underneath the car. So most important thing about it is that I got here now the space that I wanted, and also this is always good to get more room between the road and the exhaust, and it's now more like it should be, so I'm pretty pleased. So the next thing what I'm going to do is getting the rear bumper mounted. Also I have to remove this cable. This is for my trailer connection, so this can get out of the car. Of course I'm not going to tow a trailer behind this car. So because my bumper that I have is a completely stock bumper with no holes. Normally there's a hole here for a trailer. So the only thing I need to do is have a look if I have to get some kind of space to get the pipe through. I'm just going for 2 straight pipes. Just I have to have a look how far they are going to get behind the rear bumper, but we will see. So that's the next thing. So I've got the rear bumper fitted. Also the wire from the trailer is out. So I just cut the piece out of the bumper. You can see it here. So this was in here. I taped it off. Made a little drawing so you can see that's like as center as possible. So I got 2 pipes laying down here. This is the shortest one, but this is like this, so you get the idea. Going to be 2 pipes sticking out just over the black until the first piece from the black bumper is going up. I think this is the nicest position, I think. So I'm going to get the muffler and piece muffler in the car and weld it on the workbench and then place it back. So then we can have a look how it looks. So pipes fitted. So I fitted the exhaust. I don't know if you can see that, but the space in here is more perfect than over this side, so I have to get a little bit more rounded edge in here, so I got a little bit more space. You can see in here it's about 5 millimeters and here it's about centimeters. So I want to make that equal, so it will not melt down my bumper in the future. So I think the tips looks pretty good. I think it's not too much. It still looks like it doesn't look like stock, but it's not screaming like look what I got under the hood. So that's what I really like about it. So 2 tips. So the complete exhaust is done now. So now you can see when it's over mounted that the spaces are also pretty good. It's nice and centered. Also the muffler is now got enough space in here. I can on both sides I can get my hands through it. So it's all good. So that is number 2 of the list. So I think this was these 2 jobs were one of the biggest ones, I think. So I got the exhaust play is fixed, and also the rear bumper mounted, and the exhaust end pieces. So next thing I'm going to do is get the headlights into the car in the front, and also mount the air inlets. So they need some kind of connection, and they need to be glued in. I don't know if I'm going to do that straight away, but the headlamp is is mounted in, and the pipe needs to be connected to this piece of frame, so then it will not drop outside of the car, that sort of stuff. So I have to figure out something. So that's the next thing what I'm going to do. It's not a real big job to do, so that's the next thing I'm going to do. The next thing is the plate behind the engine, and from there on. So let's have a look how it goes. So at this point I got the headlamps in the front. I got also the trim pieces underneath. Got them in, and it fits all pretty good. The only thing I have with my headlamps, I think a lot of people that have on 90s will know what I mean, is that if you have a look if I got the other headlamp. This is one. You got those 2 pieces that connect on top, You got here the underneath the piece. This one is broken off on one of my headlamps, and on the other side the connection where it needs to be connected to the body is rusted off, so the headlamp cannot be installed on the other now it's now loose a little bit because I don't have the other connection on top. What I'm going to do later is to get them fixed properly in position, is that when I got these ones in position the headlamp will not move anywhere, but to get them centered at the right position I will my air inlet in the headlamp I will glue in, so there's not going to get any water in it, and this will be stuck, and I can then mount the pipe to the body. I don't know if you can see it, but this pipe will be then stuck in the headlamp, and I can connect it then in here. So I think I will maybe make several connections, a sliding connection, and then I can just tighten it up. I think I'm going to do it like that, and then I don't have that connection on the bottom. That will. I got a few sets of these, and they're broken off or rusted through. It's just bottom connection not that good. So I also got the purple color of it. I sand them down. So the only thing I need to do is to get the inside the welds. I want to make them more flat, so I have to sand it down, I think. And I think this is a better look with the grille. And I can polish them more so they're just as shiny as that the grille is, and then it looks pretty good. So I got those trim pieces in. So next thing what I'm going to do now is to get the grille installed and the centerpiece over here, and then so I know that because now the radiator is moving a little bit, so it's a little bit hard to get everything centered at the right position. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. The rest is sitting pretty good, I think. It looks pretty nice. So the only thing I don't have yet installed is that normally there is a rubber piece in here. That's not in there yet. So looks all good. So centerpiece will go in, then the grill can go on, and then we can go further to the back, to the plate that's behind the engine. So I've got a grill mounted, also with the headlights, adjusted the bumper. I need to do some adjustments to the hood, but it's now nice and centered. The seams are all good. The only thing I need to do some adjustment on the headlamps, but it's for the last mounting. It all looks good. All the gaps are like the same. Also on this side. The only thing I did not do yet is connect these to the inner frame, what I just told you. That's something I'm going to do later because I want to polish the inside to get the welds more flat than they are now. So that's what I'm going to do. But I think the overall look is pretty good, I think. So this is not the grill that will be on there yet because I got another grill. This one is with the emblem. I don't know if you can see that, but you can see it's a little bit bubbly. There's some rust underneath. So I have a different one that's completely in good condition. So I have to build in the inner frame because this inner frame is the best one. I got 3 grills. The first one I had, the original, it was completely rusted through on the other side. So this one, the inner frame is the best one, and the other one, so I'm going to make from 3 grills one. So yeah, and these are all original. So you can buy aftermarket grills, but yeah, the quality is not as good as original. So yeah, also with the headlamps, I'm going to polish these with like they got the same shiny finish than the grill is. So that will also be done, and I think the overall look is pretty good. It's not too much now because the color of the inlets is now the same as the grill. So I think it's enough stealth look, I think. So hood lines up pretty nice. That was also different than the first time the car when I took it out of took all the parts off, it was not in line, and now every seam is pretty good on the hood. Everything fits pretty good. So the next thing what I'm now going to do is this frame piece is going to be placed back, This is the modified frame behind the engine and backplate mounted. It's a big struggle, but it is in there. So I will get my light on my telephone and I can show you. So you can see that hose is coming from this pipe. It's going to the inlet or the outlet of the heater. The other pipe there, you can see it, the hose, that's from the engine to the heater. So that's all connected, there's just a hole in it. Throttle cable is through over there. It's going in here, the rubber is not completely in, but it will be in there. I got also rubber for the other pipe. So everything is free. Also this pipe is not hitting it. It's a vacuum line that will go to the this vacuum line that will go to the brake booster later on. That's here. I have to make a connection for that later, but so I have to do something with it. But this one is getting vacuum from both sides of the intake manifold. One is here and the other connection is now loosened, because normally this one can be mounted here and that's not hitting anything, but when I want to get the engine out I have to get this one off, otherwise it will hit the top here. The only problem now, this, you see the cover over there, that's the black cover, that's from the transmission dipstick. It's now hitting the top just, but on the bottom the connection is not behind the bolt that bolts between the transmission and the engine. So that will be, this one will shift about a centimeter to this side. So it will be okay. So I think I will have to move this plate a little bit up, and otherwise I'm just going to drive with the dipstick in it, just like the early generation 722/6 transmissions. They had just the dipstick in it and not the cover on it. So I have to look into that, but the pipe is not completely in the right position because it's not behind the bolt, so it will shift 1 centimeter to the engine. So it can be placed to the inlet manifold because it's one piece, so it will not make any vibrations. So for the rest, I got also the front locking mechanism is all in. So this is all mounted in the front. So I can close the hood and open it, so that's also pretty good that you also can open it. But the one thing I want to show you is that I can close it. It closes all good. So it's nice and tidy and close. So if I now open it, normally you got a lever, of course. So it pops open. But there is no lever, because I have that lever that's normally here. It will always stay out of the hood because the radiator is in there. So I have now just a piece of metal, but I have to make some tool that I have just in the car. And then I can just hook it in. It's just a little trick, and pull it, and I can just pull it up. So it's just, I have to make something for it. Because there is no shorter ones on the market, I have to make one from metal. So that's all pretty good. So next thing what I'm going to do now is, I got some stuff left on it. So this is the plate behind the engine that's ready. The grille and hood connections is all done. The only thing I'm going to have to make is that connection to open the hood. So the next one is the oil hoses for the oil cooler, transmission cooler and the steering pump. So that's what I'm going to start now with. And then the springs, but I don't have them yet. It's not in yet. And the throttle pedal is also mounted in yet. So the only thing is not, the cable is not connected. But that's all working, I all tested that. That's all good, so the cable is also through and it all works. So I can also think that one down. So then there are also only 2 to go, and that are the hoses for the oil hoses, and I can have a look if I can need some fire jackets around the hoses. So I'm going to start with the hoses. So I've got the hoses in. All the hoses are connected, oil lines are connected. both sides. I've also ordered some hose protection. It's like a plastic spring you can put around the hoses, so you're sure where it's touching metal that it will not be damaged. So on those places I will place it like here, and they will be all connected. I don't know yet how I'm going to do that. You can see it here, hoses in the transmission. The space between the exhaust is not that much, so there will be also a heat insulation around it. Also ordered that. And here, over here, that the nice thing about that stuff is also it's not only insulating, but it will also protect the hose from where it's touching. So that will all be connected in the final stage. I will put good protection and make it in a good position that it will not shift and that sort of stuff. So also in here, I don't know if you can see that, but if you can see that bolt connection, that's like the banjo bolt. That's about a centimeter from the chassis. You can see it here. You can see it there, centimeter from the chassis. I will make some space in it. Also on the top, there's another one that's also pretty close. I have to make a small dent in the beam, so I'm sure when when the engine is flexing, that will not touch anything. So also in here you can see the top of the steering box connections they are closed, so I have to do something with the insulation, so it will also be done. So those are now in. So the next thing what I'm going to do now is the max steering angle. Normally there is a little bolt on here with a stop, so I'm going to install that in the right position, so I will net, because if I flex now the wheel to max angle, I can push it over the angle, so I don't want that. So because then the wheel is not, when the steering box is in the final position, the angle of the wheel can turn a little bit, so the stop needs to be a little bit longer. So I'm going to take this bolt out and weld a little, the old piece I will weld on it, and then it will be perfect. So I will do that on both sides. So that's the last thing I need to do on the side of the car. Then I only have the front strut bar is not in, but I already had it in place, so that's good. That's over here. This both strut bars are over here. This is the original one, and this is the one that comes from 124 6-cylinder. So that was they needed to be shorted about a centimeter. I showed it a few videos back. So that's already fitted, test fitted. So that will be the last thing underneath the car, and that's an extra thing that I put on here. I'm going to do that. And then the only thing that's left is the 10 kilo springs. That will be coming soon. And I also can place that, and then I know what the right height is. And the space in between the wheels and the suspension. If you look, for example, I don't know if you can see that pretty good, but if you see here, the space in between the spring and the tire is very narrow. So what also is the good thing is that the spring I now have is 10 centimeters of 2 centimeters higher or shorter, so it will be 2 centimeters higher, so I got more space. There is now a spacer of 5 millimeters, but if you can see, I got still some thread left of the bolt on the outside, so I have also ordered that's already in, or I have that in house, so I can place it. That's a space from 1 centimeter, so I can test that what's the best thing. So that's with the springs. So first I'm going to modify the max steering angle stops. So steering angle stop is in place. If you can see over there, I welded a small piece of bolt on the edge, on the end. So now it stops nice at an early point. At first this point was hitting in here, so the thing with that was that wheel is stopped turning and this one is still changing angle, so that's not good. So you can see it's maxed in on this side. So I did the same on that side. Just welded a small piece on the back. So now it's nice and tidy. Normally there is a piece of plastic over it, so it cannot damage this piece here. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to just glue a piece of APDM rubber on here, and then it will be good. So and this will be then put in a little bit of paint on it, so it's nice and protected. So that's it. So at the moment I'm waiting for the springs. So when I got the springs, 10 kilo springs and a little bit shorter, then I can replace them, and I can have a look how much travel I don't have in a normal way, just like in the back. And that's the last thing that I have to do. So it's pretty good. So everything fits. There's some small pieces that I found just with the steering pump and that sort of stuff. So looks pretty good. So in the next clip, I got the springs. Have a look. I got the springs. So this is the one that comes off. It's 62 180 millimeter long and a 14 kilo per square centimeter, square millimeter, I don't know for sure. But this is a 14. This is the diameter, like over the top. But this is the other one. So this is 2 centimeters shorter, and it's not a 14 but a 10. So that will save me some room with the tire. So I got one spring. This one is out. Got the coilover removed. And the other side I already did this one. So you can see the spring is in. It's pre-tensioned. So the pre-tension means that from base A set I have to install the spring. Then you're going to turn this until you cannot move it with hand against the spring pressure, and then it needs to be 4 millimeters in. So that's pretty easy. So I did that. This one is in. I raised the car on each side, so I put the lower section 6 millimeters lower than it was original, because I think the car will go a little bit more into the spring. So you will see. Otherwise, it's very easy to put the car higher or lower. It's very easy. You just have to remove or loosen up this one, and you can just turn it. It's very easy. So I just did that, and otherwise I can just raise it and lower it. So the way to dismantle this coilover is you have to loosen up the 40 millimeter nut. Then you can take this one out, this one. Then you loosen up the inner one. Then you can take off the top cover, and then you can just so this nut over there, the back one, that's a 70 millimeter. If you loosen that up, then you just loosen up the top bearing in here. Then you can get the spring off, the other spring back on, and then just close it. And then you have to put the pre-tension back on it. So this section will go up. So normally you don't have to change the ride height, because the spring is changing just upwards. So it's a pretty easy setup. So I'm going to install the spring and install the coilover, and we'll show you the results. Springs are in, and the wheels are back on. Oh look, wheels back on. The gap looks like the same. I put the strut 6 millimeters higher, higher than it was before. So because I think it will drop a little bit lower than it is before, because of the strength of the spring. And it turns out pretty good, because I left, see the spacer over there? I left it out because it was possible without any spacer. So if you can look up there, the space in between is, I think, twice as much as it was normally is. I can now put my finger in between. Normally it was about 5 millimeters, so this is about a centimeter. And I think this is enough. Also on the other side, if you can see, space about a centimeter. So the wheel will not flex a centimeter. You go into a tight corner, so it will never happen. So if this wheel or tire hits the strut, something is very wrong. So I'm pretty pleased with it. So now the wheel is also inside the wheel arch. Oh, it's completely it's just completely perfect. So I don't have any camber in it yet, so when I put some camber in it, in the front or the back, I can adjust it like I want, and it should be perfect. So let's drop the car and have a look what the stance is. So I think it will drop a bit more when it's rolled front and backwards a few times, but I'm pretty pleased with it. Maybe I have to raise it a little bit later on when it's driven a few hundred kilometers, but for now it's pretty good, and I have room to raise it. So it's now about two fingers in here, so that's good enough. So also the turning circle on here, I already tested it. It's pretty good, and it looks like the same as in the back, so it looks pretty good. Also I installed now the strut bar, the painted one. So it's in now. So all the lines you will see on the top will not be there the next time when I'm going to install it for sure, because this vacuum line is normally underneath here and comes out here and will go in there. So that will normally not be there. This one will go over to the vacuum connection on the brake booster. So this is all vacuum lines. I have to look for what it's needed. So this is old ignition. There's also an old ignition cable. This is, I thought something. This one too. This is an old ignition cable. This is something else. I think this is the cable that goes to the NOx sensors. The original NOx sensors, but they are also both NOx of 4 NOx sensors in this engine. They're all 4 there, like melted, so I have to change them. So up to this point, this is the last things I needed to do. So everything is done. Also, everything closes good. It's all nice and tidy. So this is, yeah. Mechanically, the car is just done. So the rest. Like the modification is done, so it's a really nice point to get in the project. I think the look of it is also pretty good, and it's even not a nice painted car, and not all the panels are on it, and it already looks very, very nice. So let me know your opinion about it. So next thing what I'm going to do is now I have to build my engine stand. So you can see this looks like it, and this of course is an engine stand, but I want to have one that have the top halves on both sides. So I have another one like that, because this one is already a little bit bent, but I want just to have the engine, the V in here, and I can have the connections on the engine mounts just like it is in the car. So that's what I'm going to do. So I have to modify that one so the engine can go in there. And engine can go out for gaskets and make it close again, so there's no oil leaks or anything else. So I just want to have it pretty fresh. So that will be a nice video, the next one I think. I think this is also pretty nice. And this was a long one, so I hope you liked it. For all the new guys, if you like the project, put a thumbs up and subscribe to the page. And hope you want to follow my project, and let me know what you think. So thanks for watching. If you want more info about the project, have a look on JMSpeedshop.com, it's over here. And thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.